Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of our interviews with the specialists in the playlist of podcasts. In this session, we are going to have a perfect conversation with Atiye, who has studied economics at the University of Tehran. Now she is living in Indonesia. Hello, Atiye. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me here, and I hope we'll have a great conversation.
Inshallah, I hope so. Actually, as you know, more than 35 days have passed since the US and Israel regime invaded Iran's territorial integrity and killing the civilian population and bombing, still continuing the bombing schools and the hospitals and the civilian areas and many targets like that. And Iran is still alone resisting the most modern army in the world, and the most modern air forces in the world. I mean, about the U.S. Army and also Israeli regime. And many of you have asked this question, and you asked me, okay, despite all things, this is very interesting that how Iranian people have been successful to resisting under the heavy airstrikes hour by hour, day by day. How is that possible? And as you know, in the previous video, we discussed that, okay, there are some elements and some backgrounds that are not actually about the military forces and the military statistics. All of them are related to the history, value, and the cultural mindset of the Iranian people. So that is why in this session with Atiye, we are going to get more deep about these topics, about the history of Iran, about the culture of Iran, about the woman, and something like that. That actually all of them have helped Iran right now and the Iranian people to resist despite the airstrikes and the heavy bombings. So, Atia, for the first question, I want to ask you what were the main sources of resilience? The language, the literature, the women, the culture, the history. Could you tell us a number all sources that have helped Iranian people to resist in this war?
Well, you mean the current war or throughout history?
I mean, about the current history, actually, there surely we can see that there is a long history that has helped people to resist in the current war. So, could you explain us?
Well, Iran, as an identity, not as the current state, the land of Persia, if you will, has undergone many attacks, many invasions throughout history. Most brutal and catastrophic of them all would be like the invasion of the Mongols, the Macedonian Alexander, World War One, famine, and the massacre of Iranian people. And we see that there is a pattern through all of that. Like uh, the Mongols, for example, they conquered Iran. They then throughout centuries, they adapt, maybe even decades, they adapted the Iranian culture and they ultimately became Iranians. And Iran is known for dissolving foreign cultures into itself. I see that to highly come from and depend on the fact that Iran is not just a state but a civilization. You see, as you said, the language Farsi, Persian, has a major role to play in the fact that Iran stayed what it has been throughout history. So I'm going to discuss Farsi first, and then we'll get to the other factors. The language has been here since around 3,000 years ago. Farsi is actually the language of not only what we speak in our day-to-day life, but the language of our history and our myths and legends. And that's what gives Iranians and Persians that identity, that they are willing to keep no matter what state runs the country, what government runs the country. Um, and for example, like books like Shahnameh, books like um, Rumi's poems, they're full of Iranian resilience, Iranian resistance. They're full of lessons about how pain grows you and how loss is just a deeper understanding of life, and it gives you growth. So I think people with this background, people with this deep of a literature and language, they kind of learn throughout the centuries and millennia that um, even if they are invaded, even if whole cities and generations are wiped out, there is still uh, hope for the future, and they will still keep living in this land.
And actually, as I told my audience, that there is an interesting thing. It's not just about Iran, but about lots of Islamic countries, especially like the people of Lebanon, the people of Palestine, and the people of Iraq. That not being afraid of being death. I mean, welcoming the. It's not welcoming the death, but we call it the welcoming the martyrs. So it is, a strong item that really helps the people to resistance, because they think, okay, we don't have anything to lose. So that is why we can sacrifice our life for a great, for a great goal, or for a great value. So is the same. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Even in pre-Islamic and more so in the post-Islamic era, dying and sacrificing your life for your country has been a great honor for people. And people who do that are often mentioned in myths and legends, and we see a lot of them in Shahnameh. And people who put their country before their lives um, and fight for their country are shown as heroic. So this kind of amplifies the resilience inside of the current people of Iran.
Okay. My next question is that what makes a society like Iran to help itself to rebuild after bombings and wars and damage after every war during the history? I mean, what is exactly that motivation?
I think due to the same pattern we talked about, like Iran is conquered, it's invaded, then the invader needs some kind of administration, some kind of political order, and because Iran is deeply civilized in that area, and it was one of the first, I think, even the first empire in the world, um, and it had a bureaucracy, it had a, a neat imperial governance, if you will. Uh, the invader had to adapt and borrow that bureaucracy in order to run the country. And then because the bureaucracy and the imperial orders and everything was transmitted in Persian, and everything was like communicated in Persian. They had to, I mean, the kings, the foreigners who were ruling Iran, they had to also learn Persian. And then because they learned Persian, they slowly took customs and traditions of the Persians. And then they even like reverted to Islam or Zoroastrianism, and became Iranian after a few generations. Uh, this is for the history, but I think right now the Iranian resilience comes from the fact that we have seen these days many times throughout history. We've seen this pattern play out uh, in the Mongols invasion, in Alexander's invasion, in the Islamic conquest. We see this pattern, and we are sure that the Iranian identity, the Persian identity, will not go away. So this mm, grows us more confident in the fact that we will not be wiped out, we will not be destroyed. So I will say that for today, um, for today's war, the memory and the self-awareness of our national identity is one of the most important factors in us resisting the U.S. Invasion and the U.S. Imposed war. Also, um, I think that the faith of the people, as you said, um, also both the Islamic faith and the Iranian ancient faith, that it's an honor to die for your country, has a very important role to play here.
Actually, I think there are lots of other factors that have affected this resilience. You know, for example, if a country or if a society like the people of Iran, if they care about the resilience, they will be more sensible toward the other cultures and the other countries and the other ideas and other thoughts that can improve and that can improve this factor of the Iranian society. I mean, for example, if you care about pizza, every time you read about pizza in the sites and you check the new restaurants, you understand me. So that is why we can say that despite that Iranian society and Iranian deep history and culture uh, has been for I can say an example. Before the Islamic Revolution of Iran, okay, many of the people who actually after the revolution, they were the religious and political leaders of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Before the revolution, many of them actually had traveled to the Palestine, and they were inspired by the Palestinian resilience in the West Bank and in Gaza. So that is why, and also lots of the other countries, lots of the people now are affected by the resilience of the people of Palestine. So I mean, despite the core identity of the societies, you can keep them, and also you can be affected and improve the thoughts of your identity by searching and discovering and exploring the other cultures
Of
that
course.
improves your core identity, like resilience. For example, in an area like Middle East, there are lots of resilient people, uh, like Iran, like Lebanon, like Iraq, like West Bank, like Gaza. So we can understand that all of them are motivating each other to keep the resilience. Sorry, to keep the resistance. Is that true? What do you think?
I think, yeah, it could be true. They work in some kind of synergy to give each other hope and keep each other moving. And I can say that without um, the current resistant axis uh, is kind of kept alive by all the other members of it. Like if all the other members of the resistance axis didn't help uh, Palestinian resistance, didn't help Lebanon, didn't help Iran in its early uh, stages, they, as a resistance axis, they wouldn't have survived.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the circumstances and geography and the geopolitics, they are also important when we wanna analyze society like Iran and something like that. So my next question is that what exactly has been the role of Iranian women in the maintaining this continuity and resistance during history?
Well, it
That is not usually said in media. Lots of people think that the women in Iran are oppressed, they are forced to wear hijab, and I mean the whole problem that they have is just about that. I mean they never portray the other important things and the other important roles that Iranian women have played during this long history.
Yeah, first of all, um, according to the interviews and the videos that come out of Iran right now, I can say, and everyone else also can say, that this isn't true anymore. The um, oppressive picture that they have portrayed of Iran, the propaganda of the West has portrayed of Iran, is collapsing little by little, and people are starting to see that hijab and, I don't know, um, being able to sing is not the main problem of the Iranian women. If anything, I think Western women are the ones being oppressed by being sexualized, by being commodified. But the role of Iranian women in today and past wars, besides literally fighting alongside men, because that's also overlooked in history, besides literally going to battlefields sometimes, the main role that they play is that they keep the family system, the kinship going, and if we look at family as the main unit of the society, they keep that unit intact and they keep it together. Um, and for most of history, it was women who transmitted and transferred culture and beliefs and traditions through education of their children. So if we say that the Persian language is what kept the Persian civilization through invasions and wars, it's mainly women that did it, because they were the ones who passed the language, the Persian customs, the Persian traditions through generations. And also, this is also very overlooked, but they play a major role in economy as well. Uh, Especially in rural areas, women are responsible for a lot of um, the families, producing a lot of the family's needs. And although it doesn't count for what we call economic behavior today, but it's it's important for life to go on, and it's both economic and um, social, that they're doing this and keeping the family going.
So I think that there is other things that is the important rule of the woman in Iran, and that is the nightly lobalies. So I think there is another important things that I mean is a important and major rule of Iranian woman. You mentioned about the importance of the literature and the poetry and the Persian language. Uh, According to that, we can also mention the nightly lullabies, because a lots of his stories, a lots of videos, a lots of music, a lots of stories. I have found that by using this beautiful language, the Persian language, women actually they inspired their sons to keep their mindset based on the resistance. For example, in Shahnameh, we have the same things,
Yeah,
and also despite all of this, they can also directly evolve into the war. For example, based on the Islamic thoughts in the Holy Quran, when the foreign army attack your country, it's wajib. I don't know what is it in English.
mandatory.
It's necessary. I mean, you are forced based on your religion. You have to also involve in the defending your country and borders. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter about that your gender. It doesn't matter about your age?
Well, I in some circumstances, yes. Like normally, women don't have to go to war. Like mm, they don't have to physically pick up a gun and go to war. But in some circumstances, like if the enemy is like right there, it's entering your house, you have to defend yourself, and
They are
you
on
would
the
be,
streets.
yeah,
Yeah,
women would be like, they are the last, if they are the last resort of a war, they will have to fight. So they are obligated to fight religiously. But also like, it doesn't mean that other times they're not fighting. As I said, keeping the economy going, the transferring of the culture and language through generations, and also today and in many other wars, women have stayed in the mm, uh, backstage of the wars, and they have helped the soldiers to keep fighting and keep going. They've made food, they've made clothes for them, they gave emotional support, and it's just it wouldn't be possible truly without women to win any war. And this is also said by both our uh, supreme leaders so far. And that Imam Khomeini said the Iranian Revolution, the Islamic Revolution, would not have happened without women.
yeah, that's very interesting sentence. But unfortunately, a lot of sides and veils of uh, this beautiful identity not is not portrayed in the Western media.
No,
A
it's not.
lots of people actually, yeah, a lot of
It's
people
not.
have
It's not
actually
said that
misunderstanding.
60 to 70% of the engineering and the scientific work in Iran is done by women. It's not said that women actually exceed men in entering universities, and like 60% of universities are women. uh, I mean, university students. And it's not said that women can work and get paid equally, which is still up for debate in the West, but we have it in Iran. Women have been able to vote since day one in the Islamic Revolution. And yeah, I think if women were truly oppressed that much, they would have known it themselves. They didn't need to be told by the West.
Yeah, I think, but they are oppressed by the economic sanctions.
Sure. Yes. And
Yeah.
it's not only economic. Like the sanctions go very, very far into hurting civilians. That even like the the uh, cancer patients, the um, special disease patients, the babies with special needs, they are all affected by the sanctions. And the main people who have to take care of these patients are women, as doctors, nurses, and mothers and wives. But they, I don't think they care about women when it's in that narrative.
So actually, they wanna narrate on their they wanna narrate the Iranian woman based on their interests and based on their frame in the media. So they never ask a question uh, of Iranian woman. So okay, could you please tell us what is your exact problem inside your territory? Is it about the hijab? Is it about I don't know, about the family, about being oppressed by the religion, by the government, by the rules? They never want to mention that things. As I told in one of my interviews, that Edward Said actually has a beautiful book named Orientalism. In that book, he teaches us that if you wanna navigate the identities, especially in the Middle East countries that are very complicated, and you need to ask themselves to navigate themselves. You are not allowed to portray and putting them in a special frame in the media. You need to, for example, his project was on the Palestine and the people of the West Bank. Uh, but I mean, it's true, and it's the same with lots of countries, especially like country like Iran and Lebanon and Iraq, because the society of the woman, I mean, it's very complicated. For example, I had a travel to Iraq last year. It's my first video, and I saw that lots of women are working inside the Husseinias, and they are preparing food. They're preparing some places for resting people, for welcoming people. But because they are not in the streets, I mean, their struggles and their efforts are not shown, and nobody knows that. So that is why it's very important. I mean, in the whole media in the world, we have to learn to allow the local people to navigate themselves.
That's very true.
My next question is that what is the worst misunderstandings about Iran from the foreign people's perspectives?
Oof, that could be a
I
whole
mean,
different
especially
video, you
from
know.
the outside of Iran.
Yeah,
Yes, what is that?
that could be a whole different video. There are a lot of misconceptions about Iran. But
Yeah, just a
honor,
short brief.
yeah,
Okay.
honorable mentions would be the fact that Iran is very diverse while being also very united. Like um, the diversity in the ethnic groups would make people think that Iran is easy to fracture with just a war. But we see that throughout history, even when the Caucasus and the region of Herat and modern day Afghanistan were separated from Iran, for decades, people of those regions referred to themselves as Iranians, even though they were like in the Caucasus, they were Turks and they had their own country and their own system when they were separated from Iran, but they still referred to themselves as Iranians for many years before they started producing this separate national identity for themselves. And people of Herat, the same goes for Afghanistan. For many years, Iranians were hurt and devastated that a part of their heart was separated from them, and even like the people of Afghanistan thought it's it's cruel that they can't be connected to their motherland anymore. So we see this very diverse range of ethnicities, from Arab to Turk to Turkmen to Kurds to Baluch to Persians, and we think it's just as easy as making a little country out of each of them. But you see, they all shout Iran in their own uh, local dialect. They say Iran in Kurdish. They say Iran in Arabic. They say Iran uh,
Yeah,
in
actually, sorry, there are
yeah,
lots of evidence that proves uh, that point. For example, the most important poems in the Persian language, are the people of Azerbaijan and cities like Tabriz.
yes, they're very
And
patriotic.
lots of people like Sattar Khan Bagan, they were Azeris in Iran.
Yeah.
They were defending Iran, I mean, against Russia, Tsarist Russia.
Exactly, yes. And people living on the borders of modern day Iran have been hurt most by foreign invasions, and they're not even Persian. So I would say unity as well as diversity going together is one of the main misconceptions about Iran. And also, I think people uh, usually don't understand the depth of historical identity behind the current political system in Iran. They think 47 years ago, someone uh, overthrew the Shah and took over the country, and they have been in power ever since. The Iranian society has shown that it wouldn't tolerate that if it was as they say. There is 2,500 years of history behind that decision, behind the fact that the people of Iran said yes to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and it's deeply rooted in what the people believe and what the people want. And the streets of Iran for the past 30 something days prove my point.
Yeah, that was excellent. Thank you. Okay, actually, as a last question, I want to ask you that, and how does history and all things that you mentioned during our conversation represent themselves in the current war?
I
About all
wanna
of them, about about the woman, about the history and the literature.
I wanna answer from a bit um a bit more of a historical perspective. I want to talk about past wars first. Um, when Alexander attacked Iran, and I'm not saying Alexander the Great on purpose, the Macedonian Alexander, because I don't want to glorify him. When Alexander attacked Iran in the 4th century before Christ, he overthrew the Achaemenid Empire, which was the first and the biggest empire in the world in that time. Alexander targeted, as we say today, the leadership. He killed the main leaders and he killed the elite and he initiated a regime change. And the Greek the Greek elites took over after him, and all the things that happened with regime change. The local governments stayed the same, the infrastructure stayed intact mostly, but the empire fell. Then came the Mongolian invasion. They completely wiped out entire major cities like Neyshabur, like Merv, like Tus. They completely obliterated everything and everyone in those cities. They burned down libraries. They burned down uh, historical sites. They massacred people very, very brutally. Things that we wouldn't even see from the IDF today. And they are referred to as the worst thing that ever happened to Iran. And they didn't have much of a regime change, but they destroyed infrastructure, they killed civilians, all of that. Through all of that, not the imposed war of the U.S. and Israeli today, not the war of Saddam Hussein on Iran, not any other war equals these two wars. The war with the Macedonians and the war with Mongols. Iran has gone through these two. And the fact that the Persian language, the Iranian culture, the Iranian customs have endured these two shows that nothing can wipe them out. The U.S. Israeli attack on Iran kind of is the mixture of the attack of Alexander and Genghis Khan. Alexander killed the elites and the leadership, and Genghis Khan committed brutal war crimes and killed civilians and attacked our culture and libraries. And the US is doing both of that at the moment. But the difference this time is that throughout history, there were three factors that counted for whether the country could stand against a foreign enemy or not. And those are a powerful state, a capable army, and patriotic people who are willing to join that army to defend their land. Almost always the patriotic people were there. As I said, it's a heroic and legendary act to die for your country in our culture. So Iranians have always been willing to give their life for their land. But what differed in the past wars was the not having a powerful state or a capable army. The times that we surrendered, it was the state, the king, the leader, not being strong enough to stand against foreign powers and say, "This is my country. You cannot invade us." Like what happened with um, the Qajar and Pahlavi dynasties during the First and the Second World War. During those two world wars, uh, almost 50%, almost half of the Iranian population was wiped due to famine and hunger and disease. Despite the fact that Iran had declared neutrality through the war. Uh, so this shows that the Iranian state didn't have enough power to stop the invasion, to stop the abuse of the Iranian people. There were times that the state, the king, did have the dignity and the nobility to stand and to fight, but what led to their defeat was that their army wasn't capable. Like the Achaemenids resisted against Alexander, but they couldn't, like they couldn't possibly do it with their given tools and their given apparatus to fight back. So they were noble, they were patriotic, but they weren't materialistically strong enough. But now I can say for the first time in history, we have all three. We have people who are willing to die. We have a state that has been through three wars with more than like 20 countries, I would say, because every time we're also fighting NATO, we're fighting American allies, we're fighting the Gulf states. Every time throughout these 47 years, we have fought, and our state has fought, and our army has been capable enough to stop the invader. And that's, I think, one of the new things in the Iranian history, and I see that as a result of the Islamic Revolution.
Yeah, thank you very much. Did you want to add a final point?
First of all, I want to mention the imposed Iraqi war on Iran that happened in the 80s, in the 1980s. I just want to quickly point out that the war lasted for 8 years. And for the first 2 years, we didn't have anything. We just had a revolution. We had just had a revolution. We were sanctioned from day one, and we were just using the scraps of the Shah military. And we resisted for 8 years, and then the map stayed the same. The Iranian map didn't change at all. You When you combine that with everything I said about the civilization and the culture and the
Language.
yeah, and the language, and how honorable and accepted and valued it is to defend your homeland in the Persian culture, you see that Iran is is not Iran is impossible to be sent back to the Stone Ages. It's a fortress of people, of natural ببخشید به چیز چی میگن؟ به مانع obstacle. چرا یادم رفت. It's a fortress of patriotic people, of natural obstacles, of now highly capable army, and a state that is willing to keep Iran and not surrender and not declare neutrality. So yeah, I'm really happy that despite this war is hurting us a lot, and there are war crimes happening in Iran, it finally broke down the propaganda that's been going on for decades about Iran. Maybe even before the Islamic Revolution, the Iran was being portrayed as weak and third world, and just a puppet. But right now, this propaganda is slowly breaking, and people are seeing through all the facade that the Western media has put up for many years. And I think before attacking such country, such fortress of a country, people need to read about all all that we talked about. They need to read about Genghis Khan. They need to read about um, Alexander and see how we dissolved those brutal cultures into our own, and how using only our language, our traditions, our cultures, we were able to overcome the most uh, armed, the most highly armed militaries in the world. And I'm sure it's going to happen this time as well.
Thank you very much. If you have any question, please write them into comments. Inshallah, me and Atia also, we're going to answer your questions related to this conversation. Atia, I have actually word of you that we will record a documentary in Tehran, right?
Yes, yeah, inshallah. We talked about it before the war, and now maybe we can have a different topic, but we will, inshallah, record a video together.
Inshallah, yes. You gotta wait for more videos with Atia. Thank you very much for your listening. Goodbye.
Bye.